Whoa, hey! Welcome back, everyone. What's going on? It's another week of Wednesdays with Walker. I'm Nick Barr. We're here with this handsome fella right here, Walker McGee, our lead designer.
Yeah, thanks again for watching. We're here every Wednesday, Nick and I, and sometimes special guest. And yeah, we're here to answer questions, any questions you guys have. And you can join me on Fridays for the 1 hour build with Walker. That's fun to watch.
What are we making this week on the 1 hour build?
This week we're going to be making the holiday project.
Oh, nice.
The jumping Santa. He likes doing it.
Very
So
cool. Hold that back up. Is that a Jack in the Box in that?
yeah, little Jack in the Box pops up.
That's pretty
I
cool.
pulled it too hard.
So what are we going to talk about today on the show, Walker?
So today we're going to talk about RE3.
Oh, okay, we'll do the one through the
And then we are going to talk about choosing the right laser for your application.
Okay, great. So I guess we'll jump right in the first topic then. If you want to pull up, I guess I'll pull up RE3 on the laptop here, and we'll get going. Do you want to put my screen up? There you go, Charles. Okay, so as you're looking here, all right, so over here on the left-hand side, as you can see, what's really great is you can actually have different projects going at the same time. So you can name these things. We'll name this second one down here RE Demo, another one, just so we can show you the different workspaces. This is a little bit different than RE1, definitely than RE2.
Oh, yeah.
What this is going to allow you to do is have kind of different projects going on at the same time, and then kind of pull open projects in a little bit more convenient way. Basically, we've heard everything you've said in the last 6 months about RE2, and we've made it into RE3. We've really gone the extra mile to try to increase everything. So we got this picture of Max right here. What's everyone wants to do when they first get their laser? They want to engrave a picture of a photo. So
Definitely.
we're going to drag this photo of Max over here. Now, this is a large photo. We have this connected to the 48-inch laser right now, and as you can see, it's going to pick up most of the bed. So this photo's going to take just a second here to load, and once it's popped in, you can see, yep, there's Max, and now we're ready to engrave a photo. Now that's a large photo. One of these
Very
days,
large.
we'll do a 48-inch engraving of photo here coming up one of these days. But for right now, we're just going to shrink this down. As you can see, the design software, you can just manipulate the size. It doesn't have to be proportioned. You can make them look like an alien if you want to. Oops, let's get that off the screen real quick. There we go. So we're going to position this here, and now we don't need to engrave a photo. Everyone knows that. But now, one thing people run into, like, I'm going to engrave this photo, but now how do I cut this photo out of the piece of wood?
Well, here we go.
Well, this is going to be great. So let me zoom in here a little bit on Max and kind of show what's going on now. Some of the tools we have right here in the same exact screen. You don't need to go to a separate screen, go to a separate interface. Right here in the same screen, what we're going to do is select the icon for the engraving. And as you can see, a lot of the things that you recognize from RE2 are here. Your sliders for DPI, power, speed, threshold. You can invert it. You can do the threshold, or as you can see, if you move down the black and white threshold, if you're doing a different type of engraving. But we'll do the dither here, but you can invert this if you need to, if you're going to engrave on like
tile, granite, dark materials, if that's where.
Absolutely. So all those things you normally recognize are there, but what we're going to do real quick is we're going to grab this box icon, and we're just going to draw a box real quick right around the photo. Now that I had this box in, I'm just going to change my vector color right over here real quick. And this is something we do in-house, that we do all of our cut lines in red. So we're just going to switch that to red real quick, come out of it, and then once we select the thing, you'll see over on the right, my vector line now is red, and I can set that settings to cut out the outside of the photo.
Awesome, awesome.
Now, another great feature here that you can do once you have that to personalize it is we have, if you can see up here, we have a few different icons, but one of the few things you can do is like you can flip it back and forth, invert it, swap it around,
spin it.
All the normal things you'd want to do in your typical engagement, but you can also tweak that into hundredths of the percentage. There's a few other vector items here, but one thing we want to show you right away, there's all these icons up here at the top too, as you can see, like for vector marking, grouping, selecting. We'll talk about vectors here in just a second, but right now we can show you that on top of doing the square, you can also do different shapes like boxes, polygons, etc. But we're just going to throw some text on here real quick because everybody wants to do text.
Everybody had text.
Everyone has. Let's do. How can we do text? Can we do text easy? Yes, we're just going to put the text here. Now, Walker, there's a few other things that is pretty convenient here, but like with the engraving and adding the text, like we're talking, instantly creating on the fly. You don't need Photoshop, you don't need Illustrator, you don't need Inkscape.
Yeah, in this situation, we're just going to drag and drop an image and then design from there. we don't need any design software to add to this, right? So we're just going to add our text and then pick a font.
Absolutely. Now, how many fonts do we have in RA3?
We have hundreds of fonts in RA3.
That's awesome, hundreds of fonts. So not only can you do the outline of the font, just throw us in the lower third. Not only can you do the outline of the font, you can also do the engraving of it. So you can do really clean outlines of the font or engrave. Now we'll just put in. Oops, we don't want to do that. Let's backspace that real quick. I'll just type in here Baby Max.
Baby Max.
Okay, so now we got Baby Max typed in. What we'll do is. Okay, sorry, I guess my screen's up here. Walker, do you want to slide in here? There we go. So what we are going to do here is, as you can see, we'll select the Baby Max. I can adjust the size of it real quick, and even with the size, we can drag it over. Maybe put it down in the corner. That's like I'll look down there. You can put it up in we'll leave it right there.
It look good right there.
Yeah, right there. You spin it around, so you can put it upside down. You can tweak it as much as you want. You don't have to use the buttons up top. But as you can see, really easily you can tweak the design for anything you want. Now, these same icons you see up here are very similar to RE2. You have your vectorization, image capture, time estimation, as well as your perimeter job. So all the things that you normally know how to use and intrinsically use in RE2 are the very same as they're going to be in RE3. Okay, so what we're going to do right now is we're going to go to this other work area. And as you can see, Max is still there in work area 1, but here in the second work area, what we're going to do is we're dragging in an SVG.
So a totally new file.
Absolutely new file. So now we have that file still open, still available on that workspace. We're going to come over here, we're going to grab this SVG, and we're just going to drag this over. Now, a few other laser control softwares, they don't really see a normal size file loads pretty quickly. Other laser control softwares, you'll notice they don't add the fill, or sometimes they load SVGs a little weird. You notice when you're using the Glowforge software, SVGs have kind of strange habits coming in. So as you can see, we have two, the file has two layers here. One is the vector line, which has all the elements of the vector below it. And what we're going to do is we're just going to hide the rasterization layer here and just take out all the dark fill that's in there. We use this to engrave a little bit on a piece of wood.
Now, what is this file, Nick?
Now, this is a file that we were just going to use to be engraved on the door of a boat. Nidaba is a Sumerian goddess that he named his sailboat after. So we engraved it on the door of a boat. It's pretty cool name for a boat. So this is just his little logo and his thing. So as you see up here, all these other icons we have. Now we're going to grab the sub-select tool, and you can actually grab the vector marking or vector diode right there in the file and move it around.
So it's an actual design software. So you can grab the nodes, manipulate, spin, twist, add nodes, remove nodes.
Absolutely. As you can see right here, you can select all these different elements you can see highlighted on the left when you select them. So you can actually grab, Control Z real quick. Just Control Z 120 times. We'll just hide this one more again. Sorry, internet. My fingers are moving too fast. Okay, so as you can see right here, we're going to grab this link. Now let's say you didn't want to put this right here. Let's say on the design when you engrave it, you're like, actually,
you want to tweak it.
You want to tweak it a little bit. It doesn't look quite good there. But you can actually take it and drag it around, and this is completely adapting and editing the file in the software. So this is beyond just making a little adjustment, you're actually designing it. So not only can you select the things you want to move it around, but as you can see over on the left hand side, it shows you which elements you have selected and that you're manipulating.
Yeah, and if you wanted to, you could delete those entirely, yeah?
Absolutely. So we got a question coming in from Tim from Mesa, Arizona. Asked if RE3 will still be browser-based and can you still use Mac?
Of course, yeah. It's browser-based, it's not internet-based, right? So you just punch in the IP address given to the machine, from the machine, and it will just pop up in the browser.
So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to merge these two things to kind of show how you can even do things like you would normally see happen in Illustrator or Inkscape. We have a whole bunch of vector tools up here in, those I just want the D and the A. So I'm going to go up and grab my sub-select tool again real quick. You can also double-click to do this, but just to show you the different features. So now I have these two things selected. I'm just going to grab my regular selection tool now. You'll notice these are very similar from Illustrator and Inkscape. I'm just going to hit merge here, and now those vector lines are merged.
Joined.
Absolutely.
In a single line now.
Now we're getting a question about will Pro Series be upgraded to RA3?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're actually running this on a Pro 40 right now. This is what we're doing our beta testing on. We're running on Muse as well. I actually run RA3 on the Muse I have at my house, doing some beta testing, and we're doing it on the Pro 48 right here, as you can see from the big work area. Now I'm just going to select this and just kind of play around some of these diodes here, but we'll get another question in as I'm playing around this. People are asking, how can I become a beta tester for RetinaEngrave? Actually, all Muse owners, current Muse owners, have the ability to become a beta tester. Just send us an email at marketing@fslaser.com, and we get you on that list and get you one of our beta testers. We're actually looking for lots of people to help us out with that. Okay, let's see. Okay, so over here, as you can see, like as I select the E, I can just select the E from the element side, and I can move around, letter by letter. I don't have to select just the diodes. And these elements are, able to move around. The vector abilities on this are through the chairs.
Yeah, it's awesome that you can actually break it down.
Absolutely.
It's even more so than other design softwares. It's crazy.
Looks like one more question here from the interwebs. Harrison W., Fort Myers, Florida. What's up, Southern Florida? Will RE3 remain free? Does it cost anything to upgrade?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. No. The reason why we do our design software is actually so that we can have an easy-to-use product. This is something we're very proud of, and we can't wait to give away, and can't wait to let you guys use. So let's go back to Max real quick and show something that is going to help people out with automation and kind of keeping things going faster. So I'm just going to select all of Max here real quick and make it a little bit smaller so it's not so big. Now, I have this adorable thing. Well, my aunt's going to want one, so I need a second one. I'm going to line it up really easy. Now, gosh, Mom's probably going to want one. She'll probably make another one. Grandma's probably going to want one. She'll probably make another one. What's great to see too is these line up perfectly. They snap to alignments. There's a grid that it snaps to. You can line them up really easy. So really easy. I just copy and paste it 3 times. It would normally take 4 times.
You'd have to redesign it in another software.
Absolutely. And as you can see over on the left-hand side, you can actually give different settings to each one of those engravings if you wanted to. Now, what we did here is just zoomed in on Max. This is another thing that's kind of neat. If you zoom in all the way, you can actually get to the original photo. As you can see, they put it in grayscale. We did it like this so that the software reacts really quickly.
A little faster.
Absolutely. Streamlining. Looks like we have one more question about RA3. I use a lot of custom text on my projects. How well does RA3 handle adding text to designs? We kind of touched on this a little bit before.
Yeah, it's got hundreds of different fonts to choose from, and you can always upload from a previous design. Very simple.
As you can see here, when you zoom in, all the way down to pixel level, you're getting detail on RE3. You're not losing anything. So that's basically our walkthrough on RE3. That's basically what we have going on. We have joined with us here Frankie. How's it going? Welcome to the show. Frankie works in our fiber department. He's one of our lead engineers getting our fiber machines together. Basically, what we wanted to do is talk about a few of the things that people ask commonly with the fiber systems. We have one of our closed systems behind. You want to open up the door there, show us what's going on inside, how it's a little bit different from the CO2 laser?
Oh yeah, so currently we've got the focus stand here, we've got the scan head, so as you can really see, you're not going to see any linear rails available.
So where's the tube?
No tube, so you got the laser source, which is housed in this compartment here, and then the actual light is pumped through a fiber cable into a collimator, which is located back behind the
So fiber optic cable carries the source?
Yes, sir.
That's incredible.
And as the beam enters the galvo head, there's a series of galvanometer mirrors there that will reflect the light back through the focus lens, which is located here. And then you've got your work area here, so you can go ahead and establish a focus distance and then start working.
So let's start an engraving that we did and have that start going as we. So we shot this just earlier, where we just wanted to show the example between how the CO2 laser and the fiber laser compare in the market. So what we have running here on this video, as you can see, it's been going for about 3 minutes and 45 seconds. And we're actually on our second pass of the engraving on the left-hand side, which is being done on the fiber laser. You can see on the CO2 laser on the right-hand side, it's going much, much slower. It's almost embarrassingly slow on the right-hand side, how much faster the fiber goes. And as you can see real quick, it's going to pop down from the top. It's going to fill that little square at the bottom of it for some text. Here, Austin Text asked, he's using actually a YAG laser, essentially a YAG laser.
The YAG system, yes, sir.
Yeah, the YAG system. What's the differences and advantages between using that type of system and fiber system?
It usually starts with the cost of maintenance as far as actual man hours and the ability to purchase replacement parts. So let's just kind of go ahead and qualify, or at least determine what a YAG system is. A YAG source is an actual light bulb source that's your pump source, and then you've got your YAG crystal, which is your gain medium there. So if you compare that to a fiber system, you've got a actual diode pump source, and then a rare earth element called ytterbium that we dope our fiber cables with, which allow it to actually emit the beam via an efficient laser. So
what would you say that you think is the advantage of having a CO2 laser over a YAG system laser?
CO2 system over YAG?
Oh, sorry, fiber over a YAG.
Right away, it's about the burn hours. So the light source within a YAG source is going to diminish, and it's not as efficient, so it's going to create a lot of heat. And so with a lot of heat, you're going to need it to be water cooled. That's completely avoided with the fiber source. It's a completely air cooled with fiber systems.
So it doesn't get too hot.
It doesn't get too hot. The fiber optic cable is actually fairly long, so the heat's dispersed pretty evenly, and all you need is some component fans to go ahead and cool the source itself down. And it's got roughly 50,000 burn hours available for the fiber source, which is pretty significant when compared to a lot of other technologies.
Is it more quiet?
Pretty quiet. It's just a couple component fans and a laser source, so it's going to be running very smooth and quiet. Yes, sir.
So the type of laser we're looking at here that's doing engraving, can that type of laser cut material?
The fiber system is going to be able to cut very thin materials, but it's not exactly spec'd for cutting applications. But if you do get a continuous wave source, which is our compact fiber, that has a significant higher amount of power supplied, and it can cut a varying of thicknesses of material as well as metals.
Excellent. So with the fiber laser that's doing the engraving here, what would you say the advantage of using that fiber over CO2 then, as we see it side by side?
Right away, it's what obviously stands out is the speed. The speed is can vary or go upwards of 7,000 millimeters per second, which really blows the CO2 out of the water. And it's also, as well, it gives you a positional accuracy. Positional accuracy that can be measured in microns is pretty significant. So it allows you to get really high detail engravings really fast.
Like a smaller spot size?
Yeah, so basically the way that works is the light is actually sent from the light source or the diode pump source through a fiber optic cable's core, and that core is very small. So what that allows the beam to be is very straight and non-diverging. So a non-divergent beam can actually be focused or pass through a lens and be focused to quite a fine point, which compared to CO2 is going to be quite small. It's incredible. Yeah.
So I guess we have a question from Neil S. In Arizona. He asked, what materials can be cut by a fiber? Did we?
Yeah, a little bit of coverage there, but
Here's the nice one. Fiber lasers require a rear alignment. This is a great one.
no, they do not. So the cool thing with fiber systems is that like we go about back into maintenance control and all that jazz. There's not a lot of maintenance required, so you don't need any complex or complicated or sensitive optics that need to be precisely aligned and well maintained. So with the fiber system, it's just the fiber cable. The beam's completely isolated within that core. It's passed through a collimator, no hands on there, and it's sent through galvo mirrors, which is redirected to a focus lens. So it's truly is hands-free.
No gantries, there's no lens, there's no. What's the maintenance like? Is it lens clean? Is there any, like, it seems like a pretty easy system to upkeep and operate.
More or less. So basically the lens, there is a lens inside the system. It's actually located right here, as you can see. The cool thing about it is the longest focal depth you're going to have with that lens to the material is roughly 160 millimeters. So that's pretty large gap between the material and the lens. So a lot of things that you'll commonly run into with a CO2 system being so, the lens being so close to the material, a lot of smoke residue and actually particulates from the items will start to build up on the lens, and that will create a lot more maintenance to be done on the customer's end. But with this system, it's so far away from the material that you'll really be able to avoid a lot of that. So you just got to keep an eye on it, but that's really it. There's not a lot of things that you need to do as far as maintenance control.
So that focus length is set. Can you change that length? Is there different lenses?
There are different lenses available. So the standard lens that comes with our fiber systems, or at least our Q-switch systems, are the 163 lenses. So that's going to give you the small spot size, and it's going to allow you to have a limited work area. But you can go into larger lenses such as a 254 or a 330. That will not only increase your work area, but it will also increase your spot size, which allows you to work with variants of different materials and applications on set materials.
Very good. Well, let's take a look at this again real quick. So it looks like the CO2 version just got finished up. They're finishing up the last fiber there. Talk to me a little bit about what's going on in that the bottom corner with the text. Can you pull that up for us, Charles? Can we maybe look at an example of the tube? Yeah, let's pull that video off the bottom left of the last fiber. So it looks like, from an accuracy standpoint, like it's no contest as far as the text is concerned. It looks like it gets a little muddy at 6 and 4 point on the CO2, but on the fiber, it looks like you'd even gone smaller, like maybe even
Oh,
2
absolutely, absolutely. So you're able to obtain that by the galvanometers and controller combo. Their positional accuracy is just really spot on. You can, like I said, it can be measured in the microns, so it really allows you to get really accurate output. And with that smaller spot size, it allows you to really get some good power density to specific and smaller areas.
How small is that spot size again?
It can be less than or equal to roughly 50 microns. So it's really, really small. It can be measured in the thousandths of an inch.
So when we're looking at this on the square examples, how is it that the fiber has so much detail in some of these areas? Like I'm looking at could you pull it up on the screen real quick, Charles, the squares? Like on the elephants here, there's so much detail in I guess that's the bridle?
More or less.
How, like if you look on the CO2 version, like that's all moneyed up. Is that just from spot size? Is there too much detail on here for the CO2 to touch? Because DPI wise, we were very similar settings.
Yeah, that's basically what it was. So what happens here is that the spot size of the fiber system is able to be so small that it really is allowing you to get a lot more complexity within your design. So I mean, obviously it starts with your design setup, right? So if you got the same design and you take 2 different technologies and you have a system that has a smaller spot, it's inherently going to be able to engrave with a more complex output than something that would have a little bit more of a spot size, which is going to be a little more washed out, which is what you saw in CO2 sample.
Awesome. Charles, could you pull up that video of the full spectrum laser logo being engraved? Now, Frankie, I noticed that when the logo is being engraved, it does multiple passes.
Does it have to?
Doesn't necessarily have to. I like to do multiple passes, so basically allows me to control my hatch settings. There's a trifecta, if you will, of the amount of hatches you can use. And you can actually set not only the angle, so you can control what direction that the laser's actually going to mark at.
So here on the first pass, and we have a timer going just so you can see how fast it's going. It looks like this first pass happens in about 10 seconds. Why a second pass after this first one?
Second pass is going to allow you to it's going to basically allow you to clean it up a little bit. If you just do a single pass at a specific line distance, you might see some striations. So being able to have a 0 hatch layer going up and then a 90-degree hatch layer going down, and then I went ahead and added that 135 hatch angle going across diagonally as this third pass does. What that's going to allow me to do is not only is it going to work its way and brighten up that mark, but it's also going to kind of clean up any kind of striations that might be present in there. But again, with the varying power densities and power output available, you might be able to do that in a little less time or even a little less power.
Now, with those 3 passes, are you getting depth into the material, or is it just removing the end of the zinc?
Yeah, so basically I'm able to control the frequency output. So right here I wasn't really looking to get any depth. It was really just the frequency output and my ability to set the line distancing and allow myself to try and obtain the lightest mark I can get on that black anode.
If you wanted depth, you could, though.
Oh, absolutely. You can control. See, I mean, that particular setting, output was done at 7,000 millimeters a second. So that's more or less at the height or the peak of what our fiber system or Q-switch systems can do. But if you wanted to go ahead and get some depth in, you can not only control a little bit lower speed, but you can also increase the power, and then you can lower the frequency setting as well, and then do multiple passes, which will basically allow the laser to work its way into the material and give you some depth.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Frankie.
Absolutely, guys.
I really appreciate it.
Of course, I was glad to be here.
Yeah,
That's a lot of information.
If you guys have any questions about fiber marking, fiber questions, this handsome fellow right
Sounds
here
good,
will help you
guys.
out. Just send us questions at marketing@fslaser.com. We'll get them to Frankie, and we'll get those answers back to you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, take it easy. So one thing we wanted to do real quick is announce our weekly winner. The weekly contest winner.
Whoa! No, we're rastering it. We're rastering. We haven't even shown it yet.
Oh.
We totally forgot about it. We're rastering
What do we got going
the
on?
weekly contest.
You want to? So the weekly contest.
We're almost
winner.
there. We almost forgot about it.
Okay, so in a few minutes, I guess we'll see the weekly contest winner.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll come back to that in a second.
5 minutes.
5 minutes. So what we wanted to go on to next really easily is, since you see that we have the options between the fiber laser and the CO2 laser, there's a lot of different things going on. And we wanted to kind of talk about the different types of lasers we offer and maybe which one's the best choice for you. So basically what we have is 3 general sections that the lasers are broken down into. Our first section we would say is our hobby lasers. Now, a hobby laser we would say is anyone that's using the laser, our 40-45 watt systems, 20 hours or less during the week. If you're using lasers about that much and you're not doing that much, a hobby series is really built for you.
Yeah, if you're just doing projects here and there, craft projects, nothing too serious, not where
Maybe
you
an
bump.
Etsy shop over.
Yeah, Etsy shop. You're not busting these out like crazy, like a pro user would. But
So basically a hobby user is somebody who's using it for educational purposes, crafting,
Yeah,
small
schools,
shop work. You shouldn't get
anything
a
of that
hobby
sort.
laser. Maybe not the best choice if you have like orders you're waiting on, or you have hundreds of things, or if you're feeding your family from the laser, if your laser system's providing food for your family, think about maybe not using a hobby laser. Maybe
also size.
It's another, but that's another thing to consider too. Like a lot of people will have a pro laser in the shop, and then a hobby laser they'll take to trade shows, Ren fairs, cosplay fairs, other things like that. So they can do lasered items, personalized items right there on the spot. So like the next section of laser we consider is our pro CO2 lasers. Now these are mostly 90 watt CO2 lasers with larger laser beds, but what would you use these for?
So we're going to go thicker material. So if you're using thicker material, maybe more dense material, a higher end material, something of that sort.
Or larger?
Or just larger in general, or more depth. So they have the Z tables that go up to, I believe it's 10.5 inches of depth. So that's very important for somebody who's looking for that.
Absolutely.
It's going to be a lot more solid as a machine and
It's
whole.
an industrial machine, isn't it? All of our pro machines have large chassis they sit on. They have great rollers move around. The footprint's actually minimal for how much bed you have in the CO2 laser. But the pro machine, it's designed for professional use. It's the easiest way to put it. That's why we call it the Pro Series. Now, moving up from the Pro Series, there are fiber and CO2 lasers used to cut metal. And these larger lasers we call our MC Series. Now, when you use the MC Series, including our fiber that we just talked about a second ago with fiber with Frankie, like what are the advantages here? Like what types of companies are using these types of systems?
So it's going to be like firearms companies, anything that really uses metal, medical supplies, something of that sort, where they have to do a permanent mark on metal.
So like the New York Police Department has one of our Galvo fiber lasers, and they actually use it to mark laptops, cell phones. They mark their firearms. They mark the
inventory, something of that sort.
Anything that needs to be serialized or inventoried. So the great thing about the fiber lasers, you can actually put in a serial number process where after you mark the item, you hit next, and it automatically goes on to the next serial number. It's actually a really, really great tool to use. That's kind of and then really those fiber lasers, while they are a bit more expensive, there's also minimal maintenance on them. There's no tubes to replace. There's no alignment to be needed. There's very little cleaning needed. This is one of our closed systems, but there's actually open systems. You can put anything you'd like underneath the source and then mark it as well. It's actually a great opportunity to use.
They're actually, I consider them big boy toys. You know,
Absolutely.
You're starting to cut metal.
Now you're starting to really
it's getting real serious,
Absolutely.
and return on investment is, just spiked up real quick.
Oh, looks like we got something coming in. Jason on Facebook, when engraving, can you control how deep the depth goes? Now I'm assuming he's asking about when you're engraving in wood or other things. Now with metal, obviously you can do some depth, but there's not you're not necessarily controlling.
It's not like you punch in, I want a quarter inch.
Depth, exactly. Same thing with you're engraving on wood. You're not going to put in 1/8 inch engraving and then you're going to go 1/8 inch deep. You have to play with the power and speed settings.
There's just so many variables when it comes to materials, especially the grains in wood. There's no way that you could just have a single punch and it just does it. You just need to know that material, get your power setting, and then you'll know. So you have to do a little testing.
So Michael on Facebook lets me have a question real quick. Is there a way to use an alignment box that is not going dithered halftones? I want the photo engraved and the alignment box to be ignored. I have a pro model, so I don't get the system you are showing. I use Illustrator. It's a great question.
So I'm assuming he's using RE1 and he's dithering a photo, and he doesn't want to pick up that vector line, which is an issue, and that's why we've updated the software. So a workaround for that, is going to be setting a vector differently, like a different job, sending that job separately so it doesn't pick it up. Because if you have a raster this big and your outline cut's that big, you don't want to wait that whole time for it to pick up that cut.
Absolutely.
So just to make two different designs and run them separately, and that's how you avoid picking up that vector line within the dither.
Sometimes you can try changing the color of your vector line as well. Change it to yellow, white, other things like that. Sometimes that helps.
Yeah, if it's a solid fill, definitely.
Absolutely. So then Cynthia was asking, what is the least expensive home-based business model as a laser system? Your least expensive is obviously a Pro 20-inch. It's the smallest Pro, but really the Muse was designed with the prosumer in mind.
Yeah, and then we have the hobby laser itself.
Absolutely.
Right? So that comes without a camera. You don't really need a camera, but
you know what I just noticed?
It's done.
The engraving's done. You know what time it is? Time it is. Okay, so this week's weekly winner of the weekly contest for receiving $250 to our free lens kit is Jose Ramos. Congratulations, Jose! We'll be reaching out to you today on Facebook or Twitter or however it is that you submitted your contest, and we'll be getting you your free lens kit or a $250 certificate going towards your next purchase here at Full Spectrum Laser.
I'd get a lens.
I'd get a lens too. Having multiple lenses, a lot of people ask, like, why would we want to do a free lens kit? Well, one, your lens is a consumable. It's something that like easily gets built up on. A lot of people neglect cleaning it off, so sometimes you have to replace your lens. Looks like someone's standing on a cable.
Somebody out there.
Another reason is if you're cutting thicker materials, such as if you're cutting foam or things where you need a little bit thicker depth of field, a secondary lens has a ton of options to be used.
Yeah, we have the 5-inch lens, so if you want to go real deep but not so dense material, and then the 1.5-inch lens if you want to do really precise engravings.
Absolutely.
It's going to have a shorter depth of field. It's not going to cut as well, but it's going to engrave really clean.
Absolutely. It's optics are your laser's optics a lot like a camera's optics. Having the right depth of field and the right lens for the right shot is very, very important. So sometimes if you're having some problems with your specific application laser, that's something to look into. Maybe you need a little bit different lens to do what you're looking into. Okay, so what else we have for the show today? Looks like we have a survey we'd like for you to fill out if you have a moment. We're always trying to be a little bit better.
Always.
We've taken, lots of what you've seen in RE3 today came from surveys about the software. A lot of our changes we've had in customer support has come from
input.
Customer. It's great input. We love hearing from you, and people who submit to the survey automatically get enrolled into a contest. So if you have a minute to go down and click on the survey link, I think it's down below somewhere there. And do that. So next thing we have is, again, we have weekly contests that happens every single week. Now, Ruben, what do we have this week for a weekly contest? Is it submit your rig, take a picture? What is it?
Show us what you're working on.
Show us what you're working on contest this week. Weekly projects. So take a picture of the project that you're laser cutting, taking to work on, and show us what you're working on. And submit for the contest.
Yeah, if you're working on my project, I'm going to like you more.
Absolutely. So
I'll
if you're
pick
making
you.
a Santa, well, let's see that project again, Walker.
So we'll be showing how to make this guy Friday.
Now we have the 12 making days of Christmas coming up, right?
Yeah,
so these 12 projects will all be in line. Our first project was the Santa's mailbox, so make sure you get that made so all the kids can put what they're looking for Santa Claus in the little mailbox and get to the North Pole right away. And then this week we'll have these different various Christmas. Looks like we have a tangle.
We're tangled.
Oh, goodness, don't go that way.
I think there's a movie about this. So, and we have 3 versions. I worked very hard on these guys.
This is what Walker looks like when he's dancing at the club most of the time. Okay, so what else we have still going on to the end of the year is $1,000 off our Pro machines. So if you're interested in getting one of our Pro CO2 machines, give us a call on sales and check out this sweet graphic made by Brooke below. The seasons of making in full effect. That's again $1,000 off all Pro Series machines. We also have a bunch of refurbs and I guess would be open box that have been used for demos and other things that are available. So if you're looking for a deal, give us our sales team a call. We've got a bunch of things we can work out for you.
So next week's topics, we have what? We have Neil Tyson deGrasse coming in to talk about
Neil
deGrasse Tyson.
There he is.
That guy came out of nowhere.
Do you know what Neil deGrasse Tyson's rapper name is?
What?
MC squared.
Oh, I thought that was Einstein.
Okay, all right. That was a big boom. We have a gong. We'll just gong.
Yeah,
Go.
gong.
Okay. So we're also going to do jigs and things. What do people use jigs for? Their CO2 lasers.
So jigs, they're going to be setting up. Say you're doing tons of pins, and you don't want to do them individually, right? So you're going to set up a jig so they are in the same place every time in your laser, and then you'll set up a single design. Do it all at once.
Awesome. So we'll take a look at that, and then we're going to personalize laser. Like, what kind of things can people do with personalizing the laser walk?
Well, if we shoot up to the Muse,
Yeah, take a look.
we can just show the Muse real quick, and you can do something like that with your name on it, whatever you want.
Awesome. So
We have this file available too.
Yeah, so we're going to have this file and a few other files available so you can cut and engrave a few things and personalize your Muse, Hobby, and Pro Series lasers. So we're going to take a look at that as well. Okay, so one last thing we want to talk about, and this is just a little bit of business, something kind of serious actually. Everyone that's been having a Muse, you may have noticed on some of the forums, some of the topics, some of the things, what's been called the BitLocker issue or the blue screen of death, or the bricked muse, or the dead on arrival
Or
muse,
the very mad person.
or the very frustrated, upset person who just wants to make some awesome things with the laser. We get it. It's happened on a very small percentage of lasers, but we've realized that it has a potential to happen on any laser as power cycles and other issues happen.
So we came up with a fix.
So we have a solution. So inside of your muse, this looks a little complicated, but this is a control stack, and this actually lives inside your laser. So what we're going to do is we're going to send every muse customer this little bag. Now inside this bag is just this little bit of electronics that has a USB cable on it, a little riser, and a little pad. And basically what you're going to do is we're going to instruct you how to remove this USB cable and this plug and replace it with this different connector. That's all. And that little fix, which involves just taking off the side panel of Muse, takes about, 15 minutes?
Yeah, Nick did it, so it's super easy.
Obviously, it's easy if I can do it. So, as we send this out, these will be mailed out. We believe by the end of the week. If not, it'll be definitely going out Monday. But this will go out with instructions that you'll get with it, as well with tools you might need to get off the side of your laser. Again, this will fix, actually prevent any issue from happening. If it has a BitLocker issue that's already happened, this will help with that. Now, we've already corrected this issue on muses that have been shipping for the last month or so. So every muse that went out, as it was being QC'd, this happened to it. So people who've bought their muse in the last few weeks, you're fine. You have nothing to worry about. Only people that are affected will get the email and mailing with the affected parts needed. If you have any questions about that, don't be shy or hesitant. Bug Ruben on Facebook. He will answer all your questions. Don't send it to Walker and I.
I won't do anything.
We're busy. We have things going on. Sorry. Ruben, though, he's available. He's got time. What else we got today? Looks like that's it. I think that's it. I think all we have to do is say goodbye.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we appreciate you tuning in and watching it here with Wednesdays with Walker.
And Nick.
Yep, I'm Nick. This is Walker.
Oh.
And what are we going to do?
Until next time,
Yeah.
we're going to keep making.